In Norway, that requires social media
clearly label all of their retouched photos.
First country doing this.
To fine or go to jail.
Disclose when they post a manipulated photo has experts and the internet divided this morning.
In an effort to fight the harmful effects of unrealistic beauty standards and lifestyles on mental health, Norway recently introduced legislation that will require social media influencers to publicly disclose the use of Photoshop or filters on their content. The law, introduced in June this year, will punish with fines any influencer or advertiser who does not attach a disclaimer label to retouched images. The initial proposal for the law identified body image issues, social insecurity, and low self-esteem as consequences of these unattainable standards of beauty, especially in children and young people who are particularly vulnerable.
Back in the day, we would look at a magazine, maybe some movies, and a few of us might have been like, oh, okay, I need to look like this. But now the process by which that happens, like you said, is much faster. Kids get a phone when they're 10 or 11 years old. The first thing they do is open an Instagram account. They don't even go on Facebook anymore. They have a TikTok account. The prettier you are, the more people stay on your video to watch the whole thing, and the algorithm picks that up as interest in your video. And all these people who are genetically blessed just shoot up in followers, etc. And then that again causes a lot of this distress where people feel like, I don't have a body like that, or like I don't have a face like that. I can understand how people, teenagers, adolescents can look at this and think, this is real, because I too thought it was real.
It's about the messaging we receive over time that becomes our cumulative lived experience, right? We are constantly being fed messages that say, oh, reality is like this perfection or perfect environment. And then in comparison, we are not as perfect and we see our flaws, especially related to beauty. So when we see our flaws, then it becomes, oh, so compared to others, I'm not as beautiful, I'm not as attractive, I'm not on that same level as what's been projected at me. Behaviorally, it sets a pattern of always sort of focusing on the body and assessing our own body, and that becomes this practice and habit. And when things become habit, so it sets sort of the foundation to how we evaluate everything else.
A primary statistic used by supporters of the legislation to attach disclaimers to the use of Photoshop and filters is that in Norway, anorexia is the third most common cause of death for young girls. While researchers agree that eating disorders can be caused by a number of factors and are often a result of multiple stressors, consistent social media use can greatly exacerbate symptoms of both eating disorders and a variety of other mental illnesses.
If you also have other predisposing factors, so a history of mental illness or other stressors, then you may be at risk in the long term to continue on to sort of developing anxiety, about social, even social anxiety, right? Anxiety associated with issues or body image, and depression, depressive symptoms over that dissatisfaction, and eventually something like an eating disorder.
While several Norwegian influencers have shown support for the law and other European countries have implemented similar regulations, many feel it is a quick solution to deeper, more structural issues.
I think just the law that says you have to say that this is photoshopped, I photoshopped my body or something like that on this, is really not going to do anything, because there's a lot more social, change as a community. Everybody needs to be responsible. We can't just say, oh, it's social media that's doing this. It's not. It's been happening before social media as well. It's the kind of people we choose to act in our movies. What color skin do they have? What kind of features do we have? What I'm trying to say is that it has to start from a larger place where we stop fetishizing and putting girls who look like this certain way or a guy who looks like this certain way as the ideal beauty type, I definitely think it's a full-rounded experience that everybody needs to take responsibility for.
Long-lasting structural change in both mainstream and social media is a slow-moving process. Representation of different races, body types, and gender expression are very recent developments, and old-fashioned restrictive standards of beauty still remain quite popular. And while legislative approaches may have good intentions, they don't tackle yet deeper social issues that may be better addressed via conscious, community-focused efforts.
What you can do, like with any health issue, is to, when there are negative factors coming into play, is to balance that scale out and add in the things that you know will protect her and you know will like improve resilience to it. So good social connections, positive interactions, exposure to different variety of activities beyond just the social media and sort of stagnant lifestyle.
Our kids growing up seeing similar or representatives of themselves in the media. If you have Sri Lankan kids who are constantly watching American movies, they realize, oh, my nose doesn't look like that, or like, oh, I wish I was lighter skinned, I wish I was more like a tan color. So you need to, I think as parents also, you need to show your kids people that look like them also doing really well, because then they realize, oh, this is not all I have to be. I can look like this as well.